All right, good morning, Uplift Church. I love that worship this morning, and y'all are lucky because this is one of my favorite weekends of all of summer because it reminds me of vacations and watermelon, and it's just an awesome time. And I don't know how you celebrated 4th of July, and I asked Amanda, what are we going to do on the 4th of July? And she says the same thing we do every 4th of July. And my girls think the only thing you can do on the 4th of July is go to Dungannon, Virginia, and watch the parade. It lasts about 5 minutes, and then come back that night and watch the fireworks. We can't go anywhere else. We have to go there and watch that. And they think it's the greatest thing, and it's like become a family tradition, and that's what we do. And I know that we have some of these things that we do like periodically throughout the summer, maybe 4th of July, maybe you got planned on doing barbecues and cookouts and all these things. And the whole reason we're able to do this is because of the freedom in which we have. And that's why I love 4th of July, especially that whole entire weekend, is because of what it actually means. And I think a lot of times I took it for granted. I took it a lot for granted because I didn't think about or even care about how we got here. You know, I knew I'm the son of Pat and Dana Johnson, and I really didn't care about all the rest. You know, I knew we had a great country, cool-looking flag, we got the military, but I really didn't care about any of that stuff. It was so bad to the point to where we would go on vacations. And to me, a vacation is going to the beach or swimming at the pool. No. Growing up in our house, what we did is that we went sightseeing. Now, if you're a teenage boy, that is the last thing you want to do is go look at old dead people's graves and buildings that are falling down. So there was this one time that we went, and I was so mad. We went to Newport News. We got to go to the beach this one day, and I was so excited. We was up there visiting my sister and her family, and it was up Newport News. And then my dad said, all right, next day we're going to visit Jamestown. Is that a beach? I was like, no, that's like the first settlement in Virginia. It's kind of a big deal. And I went, I ain't going. Tell that to your dad. See what happens. So I went. And the whole time I was griping and complaining, and I was making these smart aleck remarks, and, I don't want to go, or, all this. And Dad said, okay, you don't have to, but you can sit in the car. I went, all right, I will. July the 4th weekend in Jamestown, sitting in hot pavement, I sat in the car with the windows down, no key. I sat there, and I sat there. I thought, well, they'll be back in about an hour or two. 5 hours later, my parents and my brother come back, and I'm soaking wet. The next day, we were going to go visit somewhere else. That's where we're going to visit Yorktown. Are you going to go? Absolutely. Yes, I am going. And we went, and I actually learned some pretty cool stuff. And since then, I've come to find this new desire and passion about, where we come from and this historical part, because I finally got what my dad is trying to teach me all those years. It wasn't just about sightseeing about these old buildings. It was about it come to a point that the whole reason that all this took place and happened was because people believed in something so much that they were willing to give their life for it. And because of that, we're able to celebrate and have freedom. So this Jamestown settlement, it was done in 1607. It was unbelievable. And the things in which they were able to do and be able to pass. And here, we're able to do that. We're able to celebrate this freedom because of all what they started, because of what they believed in. And we get to reap those benefits. They had nothing. All they had was this belief, this idea, and they stuck with it. And I wonder what we believe in. Like, what do we care how we got here? Does it matter, that you live in Virginia? I mean, how did Virginia get its name? How did Tennessee get its name? What does all this stuff add up to where we're right here, right now, in Weber City, Virginia, at Uplift Church, to be able to enjoy the freedoms in which we have? And when you think about it, it actually is pretty powerful, because of the reason why we're here is because these people died for something. They died for what they believed in. And then later in 1776, July the 4th, is whenever they signed the Declaration of Independence. And it was a great document celebrating and establishing our freedom and rejection from King. We are celebrating and we're going to declare our independence. A couple years ago, we went to Washington, D.C., and I got to see the Declaration of Independence with my own eyes. You could barely see it. It was in a special glass. You barely could make out the words. And it was very impressive to be able to see that document with your own eyes. But that didn't impress me. What impressed me was their scratch paper. Little pieces of paper that started out, "We the people." These little pieces of paper, and they had tons of them. Some of them had lines through, and they had lines through it, and where they had rewritten it up above it. Or they had completely changed the arrangement. There was tons of these little paper, and it was all in frames and all around it. They even had their scratch document, their test run, their rough draft. And you got to see all this. And they spent so much time. They didn't just come and sit down and say, "Okay, guys, let's write the Declaration of Independence in one day." They put some thought into this. They worked for it. And the reason why they spent so much time and worked for it is because they believed with all their heart about what they were doing. Now, I wonder, are we that passionate in our lives? What do we believe in? What do we do? Because what you believe in is foundational for your life. Because everything you do, every action is going to be dictated in your life because of what you believe. Every action. Some of you don't believe in sugar. And that dictates everything in your life. So you don't eat anything that has sugar. I'm just curious. How many of you like your coffee black? You like your coffee straight black? All right. How many of y'all like the stuff that you put all the stuff in it? Raise your hands up. Oh, there's about half and half. Now, the reason why you drink it that way is because you believe that's the best. And somebody else is going to tell you, "You know what? You'd be better off if you drink your coffee black." No. You'd be better off if you'd have some goodness in it. And you do it because that's what you believe. What you believe is foundational for your life. Because everything in your life is going to be built upon what you believe. If you don't believe it, you're not going to do it. Now, this is a little bit different because growing up, you tell these big stories and like, "Well, I don't believe you." Well, I'm going to prove it. This is talking about you and your life and how you live. It goes for everything that you do, everything that you watch, everything that you listen to, everything that you say is all based upon what you believe. Parents, this is what you're teaching your kids. You're teaching them what you believe. And it's done by your actions. See, there's a difference between intentions and your beliefs. There's people that die with good intentions, but what you believe will guide your life. It's foundational. There's some people we know that's digging for a basement up in Nicholsville. Great big old pile of dirt. And every time we drive by, our 5-year-old, Kayla, she's like, "I don't know why they have to dig that. Why they got to dig all that dirt?" And the man is like, "Well, for a basement. They're building a basement. They're working hard to build a basement. It's foundational, In our house, and it's like we moved a lot of dirt for our house. We got a basement. We moved a lot of dirt out, and then we dug out for the footers, and then we laid concrete and rebar in there, and then they set blocks on top of it, and then they set the trusses, and it's all setting on the foundation. This is why concrete is so cool. It's because if it's done and it's done right, you could set a whole house on top of it, or even a huge building that stands stories high if the foundation is solid. And what you believe is foundational for your life. What do you believe? Now, to sit here and to try to discuss, all that you believe, we could spend weeks, hours, months talking about what you believe and why you believe it or why you should believe something or not. So what we're going to do in our series over this next 5 weeks is we're going to lay some foundational principles for your life. And I'm telling you, if you will allow God to speak to you through this, it'll change your life. The Bible says quite a few things about foundation, about this very topic. And the first one Jesus speaks of in Matthew chapter 7. So if you have your Bibles, I'd like for you to turn with me there as we discuss this, because it's awesome. Foundational for your life. And it spreads. It spreads. Because this is what everybody sees. It's what built on top of it. Not everybody sees your foundation. They don't see what you believe, but they see the effects of what you believe. This is what Jesus is trying to say. This is Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. He says, anyone who listens to my teaching and follows it is wise, like a person who builds a house on solid rock. Though the rain comes in torrents and the flood waters rise and the winds beat against that house, it won't collapse because it's built on bedrock. In verse 26, he says, but anyone who hears my teaching and doesn't obey is foolish, like a person who builds a house on sand. When the rains and floods come and the winds beat against that house, it will collapse with a mighty crash. Now, this is what we all want. Whenever we go to buy a house, it has to pass inspection. Whenever you go to build a house, you have to build your footers. And nobody's going to build a house on something that's unstable. You want it to be rock solid. How would you like to go through your entire life living at your house, and every storm that comes, you're scared to death wondering if your foundation is going to hold because it was built on sand? I don't want that worry. So we remove all that worry, remove all that fear, all that doubt, and we build upon the rock. Something solid, rock solid, just like concrete. This is a stepping stone. This is a spiral, and I didn't take it up from our house, but this is just a concrete block, and it's pretty rock solid. I have no idea how much it weighs. I have no idea, but it's rock solid. This thing is, it's heavy. And you can use this, and you could, now we have several of these. Amanda's Papaw actually made this several years ago. We got them right in front of our house going to our doorway. So if you come to our house, you're going to be walking on these. And it's pretty heavy. And this represents, the concrete, a good, solid foundation. Now, concrete is heavy. And what he's saying here is that if you do this, I got another one right here, and we can stack them on top, and you can build something on top of this. And he says, anybody who does this, he's like a builder who builds his house on solid rock. So he's talking about anybody who listens to his word and does them. Now, this is rock solid. This is the type of foundation you want. This is it. But he says there's a foolish person also that builds a house on sand. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I told Super Dave I had a cool prop if it didn't make a mess. So it's just barely damp, okay? Playing with sand is cool. I actually couldn't wait to do this. I wish I had a truck. Well, it didn't really hold that good. It's going to have to be wetter. And this is what he's talking about. Which one are you going to build on? It's wetter down at the bottom. Let's grab a little bit more. Maybe that's what we need, just more sand. No, it's still not wet enough. Yeah, it's just going to fall off. He said, which one are you going to build on? The rock solid foundation or the sand? He's talking about you. Which one are you going to build on? Now, the sand is cool. We like going to the beach and sun tanning and riding waves and all that. It's great. But if you're going to build a house, you want something that's sort of solid, rock solid. So what we believe is just like this. You can go through life and be wishy-washy like this sand, unstable for anything, and not a single person is going to be able to believe a word you say because there's nothing built on it. And every time you try, it's going to fall down. Every test that hits you, it'll feel like it's a disaster because you're not having a solid foundation. This is why some people struggle so bad. It's because they don't know what they believe. Or they believe something and unstable. He says, listen, you need a solid foundation. What you believe is foundational for your life. What you believe. What you believe will guide you through all of life. What you believe. Your faith. What you believe. Because everything you believe will be built on top. It'll come out of it. He says this in Hebrews chapter 11. Most people believe this is the Apostle Paul who wrote this. And this is the rest I'm going to be here. So if you turn over to Hebrews chapter 11, this is very powerful. It's talking about what you believe, because what you believe is foundational for your life. What you believe. He says in the very first verse, he says, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. Through their faith, the people in days of old earned a good reputation. Now don't miss this. He's saying that faith moves people. The reason you do what you do is because of what you believe. That's what he's saying. That your hope is in this belief. That's what your faith really is. And our faith gets tested daily. Sometimes it's more of a personal experience with you. Sometimes it may be with your family, but you're going to be tested daily. And he says he says, it is the evidence of things that we cannot see. I cannot see what you believe. Nobody can see what you believe, but we can see the evidence of what you believe. You don't have to go around telling everybody, hey, I'm a Christian. I love God. Go to the cashier. Let everybody know. You don't have to bellow it out. But the evidence of your life will show what you believe. It'll show what you really are. That's what he's saying here. That this life, it says verse 2, through their faith the people in days of old earned a good reputation. A good reputation. The reputation is the evidence of what you believe. This is what people see in you. See in you. It's because of what you believe. What you believe is foundational for your life. It's foundational. You cannot have it any other way. Now, in researching for this, I was studying the Mayflower and the things that they came over and all this. And what was so amazing about this is that people in the Mayflower, they said, listen, we need some type of guidance. We need some type of document. We need something to help us form some sort of simple government. We need a governing body. And so if you were to read you could read the entire document. It's called the Mayflower Compact. But there is one sentence here that I want to share with you. And this is just one statement out of here. He says, having undertaken for the glory of God and advancement of the Christian faith. The entire purpose of America being established because they wanted to start a church. They wanted to further the gospel. And they believed in it so much they were willing to die for it. Now, the Mayflower, they had a tough time when they came over. They had a tough time. The captain of the ship felt so sorry for them that he left the ship parked just off the shore for shelter from all the elements of the weather. During the daylight, they would build houses for everyone. And then at night, they would go in to the ship. That spring come around and many had died. And the captain gathered everybody up and he said, listen, you all are dying. We are going to die. We have enough provisions. Let's go back to England. Let's go back from where we came from. We can do it. But the men stood up and said, no, we will not. Absolutely not. We believe with all our hearts that God has called us to this country, and we will fight dying for this. And they did. And because these people believed it so much, we're here. We are here now because they believed God was calling them to do this. Because what they believed was foundational for their life, and it established a foundation for the United States of America. Now, it wasn't until several years later that they established the Declaration of Independence and what we're celebrating this week. But it was started because of what they believed. What you believe is extremely important. It doesn't affect just you. He says, it's a good reputation for, this is what everybody's going to see in you. It's not about just you. It's about what kind of light you are and what you're giving off, because what you believe is foundational and everybody else is going to see it. Everybody's going to see it. So you can't see the foundation. You can't see those footers. But a house that's built on top of that. You see the evidence of the footers, and if there was no foundation there, it would surely fall. It would fall. You need something rock solid. Rock solid. Now, what would happen if you built your house and just set it on the ground without a foundation? What would happen if you did that? If you just built a house and set it right on the ground, I'll tell you what will happen, because I've seen it happen. It will rot. it will rot to the point to where it starts crumbling. And it won't do it in a week. It won't even do it in a year. But through time, it'll eventually fall. I've seen it too many times. Dad asked me to go help him work on this house. And I had a crack, just a small little crack in the bathtub. Small little crack in the bathtub. Dad's like, oh, it won't be too awful bad. We're going to replace the tub. There's probably, some floor in here we need to replace. 5 days later, we finally got it done because it had rotten all those trusses underneath. We had to replace 5 trusses and all the flooring because of a little crack. That's what kind of damage water can do. It's unbelievable. That's why it's important that we have a solid foundation. No cracks. Nothing that can penetrate us or destroy us. A rock-solid foundation. So we said right here, this is what the whole key of it is. It's by your faith, what you believe. This is what is so foundational for your life. It's this. Look at verse 3. He says, by faith we understand that the entire universe was formed at God's command, that we now see did not come from anything that can be seen. He said, we believe by faith that God created everything. We wasn't there. We wasn't there when God created the whales and the animals and the people and the sun and the moon and the stars. And we wasn't there. But our faith, we can see it. We know it to be true. And because we know that God created everything, we know that everything He did was true when He gave us His Son to die and rise again to give us life. We know it to be true. And because of that, we're here today. We're able to be saved because we believe that. It is foundational for your life. It's foundational. This is why we believe it. That's why I like this. This entire chapter is so good. It's by faith that we understand this. This is a building block for your life. It's what you believe. He said the first thing we have got to believe, we got to nail down, is that God is the creator of it all. No big bangs. God made it. God did it. If we have that foundation on top, we have a relationship with God, we can look and we can see how God used other people in their life, what they believed. Look at verse 4. He says, it was by faith that Abel brought a more acceptable offering to God than Cain did. It was by faith. So, the story in Genesis, you got Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel. He was jealous and upset. God didn't like what Cain did. He liked what Abel did. Abel brought a more pleasing offering. And he did that. He gave his very best. He did it because of what he believed. He knew God, had a relationship with God, and he wanted to give him his best. So his actions were because of what he believed. That's why this is so foundational. It's critical for your life about what you believe, not your granny. So many times I've asked somebody, hey, do you go to church anywhere? Well, my great-granddaddy was a preacher. I don't care. I'm talking about you, what you believe. Hey, do you go to church anywhere? I take my kids. I drop them off. I'm talking about you. Do you have a relationship with Jesus? Well, I went to church when I was, little. I went to vacation Bible school. People will dance all around that. It's a point-blank question about what you believe. You, because this is about you. Now, what you do will affect everybody else. It'll affect other people, but it's about what you believe. Because what you believe is foundational for your life. It's foundational. This is what moved Cain to action. This is it. He said this is the whole reason he done it. Look at this next verse. It's verse 5. It says, it was by faith that Enoch was taken up to heaven without dying. He disappeared because God took him. For before he was taken up, he was known as a person who pleased God, and it is impossible to please God without faith. Anyone who wants to come to him must believe that God exists and that he rewards those who sincerely seek him. See, Enoch lived a life that pleased God. And it was evident to everybody else. When everybody saw Enoch, they didn't see what he believed. They saw the evidence of what he believed. Because what you believe is foundational for your life. That's what you're going to do. All your actions are going to be dictated all because of what you believe. And I can't stress that enough to you. Because you can't say that you believe one thing and then do something else. You can't do it. You can't say that such and such is your favorite football team, but yet you're going to pull for somebody. So one of the big rivalries in the NFL is the Cowboys and the Redskins. Is any Cowboys fans here? You like Cowboys? Like one? I figured there's more of you than that. I like the Redskins, and see, there's my dad. He passed that on to me. You can't say, I like the Cowboys, but I'm going to pull for the Redskins. Like, that makes no sense. Let's get something that y'all would probably be close related to, and it hurts me to even say it. But do I have any UT fans here? You like Tennessee? Oh, I'm praying for you all. You can't say that, hey, you'd be decked out, and a friend of mine, her dad, has nothing but orange. That's all the man has. If you see the man, they went on vacation, and every picture was UT. Everything. He's even got shorts, those biker shorts. Like, yeah, he sports it all. You can't say that, oh yeah, decked out all orange, Tennessee, and then pull for Alabama. That's like against God, right? You can't do that. And that's what the Bible's telling us right now, is that you can't say one thing, say that you believe something, and then not carry through with it. Because what you believe is foundational. That's what everything is built on. All your actions are going to be dictated because of that. Now look what that last part of that verse is, what he says. It is impossible to please God without faith. It is impossible to please God without faith. You can't please God without practicing what you believe. Do you believe it? Do you believe it? See, I believe that I married the most beautiful, amazing woman that God ever created. I think she is amazing. And I believe it so much, I daily remind her how amazing she is and that I married up. Like, I married way out of my league. Way out. And she's amazing. And I believe it so much that I remind her daily. I believe that we have the best youth pastor in the world. And I don't tell him daily, but weekly I tell him how amazing he is and how much I appreciate him. Because I believe it. And he wants to be like me. Today he wore the same color shirt that I did. I love you, David Smith. It's what we believe is going to dictate what we do. Do you understand this? If you say you love somebody, then there better be some actions to go along with it. There better be something. Because your love is what is shown, not is what is told. I hope that makes sense to you. Because what you believe is going to dictate what you do. I feel so strongly about this because everything in the Bible is based upon this whole thing, this statement. Because what you believe is so foundational for your life. This entire chapter is based upon this thing. Look at verse 7. We've already mentioned Noah. He said it was by faith that Noah built a large boat to save his family from the flood. He obeyed God, who warned him about things that had never happened before. By his faith, Noah condemned the rest of the world, and he received the righteousness that comes by faith. So God came to Noah and said, Noah, I want you to build a boat because there's going to be a flood. What do you think would happen if Noah went, nah, I don't believe you, God. I don't believe you. For 120 years, Noah preached that this flood is coming. God is going to destroy the earth. The flood is coming. People made fun of him and building him this boat. But he believed it so much that he did it. He obeyed God. He believed God. But I wonder what we believe. See, we're here today. We are free. We are here alive because Noah believed God. Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives, and these animals were saved. All because Noah was moved to action based upon what he believed. He believed God. God told him, he believed it. Do we have that relationship with God? That when we read the Bible, like, oh, God tells me to do this or not do this, I better obey. Why do we obey our parents? Because we believe if we don't, we're going to get a whooping. I tell this to my girls, and I told it to Kaylee yesterday. I don't even remember what she was doing. And I said, what happens if you do this? She says, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm like, yeah, you are. So she didn't do it. She believed me. She believed. Do we believe God's word so much that we're going to be moved to action because what you believe is foundational for your life? It's foundational. I don't know about you, but I don't want to be wishy-washy like this sand. I don't want to be wishy-washy. This is why people got so lost in the desert, because the face of the desert is constantly changing. The winds blow, and so you might see a mountain of sand one day, but in a few hours it would be shifted. But this concrete, oh man, it is solid, rock solid, and it will stand. When parents built our house, growing up, there was this small walkway. I remember the day the concrete truck was there and they were pouring this stuff. Mom took a nail and she went over to this corner. She wrote our initials. I went by there yesterday and those initials are still there. We built that house somewhere around 1984, 1985. It's a long time ago. It's still there. Me and my wife, we built our house somewhere around 2002, 2003. And we had this concrete come in and it laid this basement floor. And right by the basement door, you'll see the initials, AJ, PJ. It's still there. Still there. Here it is 13, 14 years later, it's still there. That concrete is hard. That's what you want to build your life on, is something concrete, something that's rock solid, something you can depend on. So what do you believe? What do you believe? Is it moving you to action? See, if you really have a desire to get close to people with the fear of God, then your life is going to reflect that. What you believe is so foundational because it'll dictate what you do throughout your life, if you believe it or not. You can tell somebody you love them all you want, but unless you show it, all it is just words. Just words. Look what he said here. This is verse 8. He says, it was by faith that Abraham obeyed God when God called him to leave home and go to another land that God would give him as his inheritance. He went without knowing where he was going. And even when he reached the land God promised him, he lived there by faith. For he was like a foreigner living in tents, and so did Isaac and Jacob, who inherited the same promise. Abraham, listen to this, was confidently looking forward to a city with eternal foundations, a city designed and built by God. Abraham was looking even into the future for us. He believed God so much. He was looking way past the nation of Israel. He was looking so far ahead past Jesus, to this eternal resting place for all of us. I like what he said here. Eternal foundations. Now, is that not something you want to live on, that you want to stand on? Eternal foundation? There is so much fluff that we deal with. So much fluff. Yesterday we was in our car, and it's getting old. It's a 2002, and the air conditioner wasn't working good. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to recharge that. Man, I like to have a new car where you don't have to mess with it. But guess what happens? That new car, you're going to have to mess with it again, because it's going to need new tires and brakes unless you just get a new car every other year. You're going to have to work on it. It's so much fluff. Eternal foundations will last. He said that's what Abraham was looking for. Something rock solid that will stand. And if we'll look for that, we got something that we can stand on. We got something that we can believe. We got something that we can build on. A good foundation. Good foundation. We got a good foundation, then we're going to live a life that's going to make a difference. It's going to impact others. He goes on. I'm going to skip down to verse 32. This is my favorite part of this. He says, how much more do I need to say? It would take too long to recount the stories of faith of Gideon and Barak and Samson and Japheth and David and Samuel and all the prophets. By faith, now listen to that. By faith, these people overthrew kingdoms, ruled with justice, and received what God had promised them. They shut the mouths of lions, and they did it because of their faith. Their faith is why they did it. Why did David go up against Goliath? Because he believed God was with him. His faith, what he believed, moved him to action. That's what we've seen about all these guys. What they believed in is what dictated what they did. Verse 34, he said, they shut the mouths of lions, they quenched the flames of fire, escaped death by the edge of the sword. Their weakness was turned to strength. They became strong in battle and put whole armies to flight. Women received their loved ones back from the dead. But others are tortured, refusing to turn from God in order to be set free. They placed their hope in a better life after the resurrection. The Bible is full of examples, full of people who were moved to action because of what they believed in. They believed in it so much and they were willing to give their lives for it. That is how America got started. That is why we're here. And now, we have this amazing message of the gospel of Jesus to change people's lives, and that is critical. That is what's foundational. And if we believe it, if we truly believe it, it'll move us to action. Verse 36, he said, some were jeered at and their backs were cut open with whips. Others were chained in prison. Some died by stoning. Some were sawed in half, and others were killed with a sword. Some went about wearing skins of sheep and goats, and destitute and oppressed and mistreated. I like this, verse 38. They were too good for this world, wandering over deserts and mountains, hiding in caves and holes in the ground. They were too good for this world. I would love that to be able to be said about me. Whenever somebody's standing over me at my funeral, says, man, he was too good for this world. The only way somebody's going to be able to say something like that about us is if our lives showed that. And that's why we're saying it about all these men and women here in Hebrews chapter 11. They were moved by what they believed in, and they believed in it so much, that's what they did. Church, what you believe is so foundational for your life, and it dictates everything. Some of you were raised that you don't wear, a dress above your knees. That's where so you believe that with all your heart, and so it dictates what you do now. It dictates what you do now. Some of you were raised, taught a certain way, and that's what dictates what you do. What you believe in is so foundational because it'll guide you for the rest of your life. Now there's days, understand that there's days that we get it wrong. There's things that we get it wrong. We realize that, man, I want to do something different. So what's so cool about this is that whenever you've done something wrong, so let's say this was a concrete foundation, is that you can dig it all up, you can lay a new foundation. You can expand your foundation. There's things that in our lives that we realize that we had wrong all along. Oh man, that's great. We can expand our foundation. Church, I want to ask you, what do you believe in? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in Jesus? Do you believe that He's coming back? Because if we really believed it, then I think that our lives and what we did would change right now. I think there's things that we'd pray for differently. I think that there's things that we would do for others differently. I told my dad a while back that I want to live my life with no regrets. No regrets. That whenever it was time for him or mom, I want to be so close with them and so tight that when God calls them home, I want to have no regrets. None. Well, if I believe that, then I better live it now. I think regrets are one of the things that would haunt us when we're older. That if we could go back 1,000 times, man, if I could go back about 15 years, the time I would spend with my granddaddy would be unreal. I would have to be pried from his house if I could go back. Right now in your life, there's probably something in your life that if you could go back, you would have changed. Well, we can't change that past, but we can change where you're headed right now in the life that you're living. Because what you believe is so critical because it will guide you for the rest of your life. It's that critical. And I don't know where you're at in your life right now, but if you say you love God, then your actions will prove it. James said, you say you have works. Well, I'm going to show you my faith by my works. I'm going to show you how I love God by what I do. Do you? Do you have that kind of relationship with God? Do you believe it that much that you're that much moved to action? Next week we're going to set our baptistry up here, and we're going to have baptisms next Sunday, and I'm super excited about that. I think there's 4 or 5 that's getting baptized, and it's awesome. And the reason why they're going through with this, because they believe in something beyond themselves. And they believe it so much, they're going to follow through with this. What do you believe? What do you believe when it comes to family? What do you believe when it comes to work? What do you believe when it comes to your job? Because what did you believe is foundational for your life. Now you can tell somebody, oh, I love God and I'm all this. I got this great strong foundation. It's great. Look at this. I'm doing this and this and this. But if your actions don't show that, then what you're telling yourself is a lie. And you're really building on the sand. What do you believe? What do you believe? What do you believe? Because whatever you believe is going to dictate what you do throughout the rest of your life. What you believe. I'm not a fan of cats. You may have a cat, and Fluffy may be great, but I've never been a fan of cats. My dad passed that trait on to me. But I have 4 girls, and all 4 of them love cats. They think there's nothing greater than a cat that gets by your feet and rubs up against you and all of that. And so all 4 of my girls, they believe so much that cats are the coolest animals that they say that whenever they graduate and get married and get out of the house, the first thing they're going to do is buy a cat. And so my oldest one asked me, she said, so what are you going to do when I have all these cats and you come over to visit? And I said, I'm going to call you the crazy cat lady. She said, are you going to kill it? I went, no, I'll pet it as long as I don't have to take it home. But they believe it so much that right now that's what they're going to do. They're already discovering that what they believe in moves them to action. What you believe is shown to all the world. It's evident to all the world by what you do. You can't say one thing and do something else. You can't say you value something if it's not shown. The greatest thing you can do is live the testimony that you proclaim. Live it. If that's what you believe, then stand by it and do it. If you believe something else, then stand by it and do it. But you can't be wishy-washy. You can't be like this on the sand. Because every time a trial hits your house, every time a trial hits your life, it's going to be the end of the world. If you're on the rock-solid foundation, oh man, then it'll guide you. It will guide you. What you believe will show others what you are truly made of. This last verse I want to read with you, it's verse 39. He's talking about there's a summation of all this. He says, all these people earned a good reputation because of their faith, yet none of them received all that God had promised. For God had something better in mind for us so that they would not reach perfection without us. They earned a good reputation. They earned a good reputation. They earned it. They believed it. Church, what do you believe? This reputation we're talking about, that's the evidence that's built upon this rock-solid foundation. Now, if you look at your life and you're going to think, well, I'm not much, or I make mistakes. Yes, you do. We all make mistakes. So thankful for the grace of God we have through Jesus. But what we have is a foundation. Something we can build on. So when the winds come and the rains come, the floods come, it'll take the beating. We make the repairs, then we keep moving forward. We do what's necessary, and we keep moving forward. What's required of you is that you've got to figure out what you believe. Now, the whole point that I wanted to do during this entire message today is establish the importance of what you believe. What you believe. And this is based upon everything. If you If you believe you have the greatest parents in the world, then your life is going to be able to be evident of that. If you believe you serve an amazing, awesome, mighty God, then your life is going to be evidence of that. Because you can't say one thing and do something else. That's building on the sand. What you believe will dictate your life. It will guide you. And I don't know where you're at in your life right now. I don't know what you may be experiencing. But are these people in the Bible that we read about? They died for what they believed in. They died. They believed in it so much, they died doing this. Right now, in your life, would people say that you died fighting for what you believed in? Or would they say they died with the best of intentions? Because there's a warning there. You cannot base your life upon good intentions. It's about what you do. About what you do. What you believe is so vital for your life, but your good intentions are not foundational. There's people who die every day with good intentions. That doesn't get them any closer to God. That doesn't get them to heaven. That doesn't get them where they want. It's just an idea of what you believe. That's what's real. What you believe. I'm going to ask you to bow your head and let's pray together for a moment. Father, I pray right now that you would search us, search out our hearts. Speak to us, God, and help us to hear a word from you. May the power of your Holy Spirit speak to us right now. Search us and make us new. As you continue to pray, there's some of you here today that God is speaking to you very powerfully. That you say you love God, you say you have a relationship with God, but there's no evidence. And my question to you is, do you really believe? Because what you believe is foundational for your life. What do you believe? You say you love God, then prove it. What you believe. Some of you, God is challenging right now that you need to step up. You need to step up your relationship with Him. You need to step up your relationship with your family. You need to step up your relationships at work. You need to step up your work ethic. You need to step it up. You say you believe in these things, but there's no evidence to back it up. And now God is convicting your heart. He says, you know what, it's time to change this. Right now. Would you call it on God? There's things that need to change in your life that you realize that you've not been doing what you ought to have been doing. That you've been building a house on the shifting sand, and every trial, everything that comes, it's just detrimental. It just destroys. It's like it's taking your legs right out from under you, and it's time to build on the rock-solid foundation. What he's saying is what you believe is the foundation for your life. And it's time for you to get busy. To build on the right, rock-solid truth of God. If that's you right now, I want you to call out to God right now and say, God, I've been built on the wrong foundation. I've been living for myself, and my actions don't show where my heart truly is. Today I want to start building for you. I want to build the foundation that you lay before me by what I believe. And I'm going to prove it by what I do. There's others of you here today, and maybe you don't have a relationship with God. You're on the complete wrong foundation. You don't know what you believe because you don't have a relationship with God. And right now, God is knocking at your heart, speaking to you and said, today is the day that I'm calling you to be saved. I'm knocking at your heart. I want you to be saved. If that's you, would you call it on Jesus and say, Jesus, take my life and make me brand new. Forgive me of my sins. Forgive me of my faults and failures. I accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Help me live the rest of my days of my life for you. As you continue to pray, if you prayed that prayer today to receive Jesus, may I pray for you? Will you just slip your hand up and say, yes, I prayed that prayer today to receive Jesus. Thank you. God says you. Thank you. Father, may you do a great work in our lives. God, we don't want to be hypocrites. We don't want people to be surprised that we go to church. We don't want people to be surprised that we own a Bible. God, may our actions show that we have a relationship with you. May our actions show how much we love you. May our actions show how much we love our family. May our actions show what we truly believe. That is what's foundational for our lives. Father, I pray for the rest of this series as we lay down these foundational truths. That God, you would speak ever so clearly, that we might be able to become closer to you and closer to one another. That we might be able to reach people who are far from you, who have no relationship with you. God, that we might be able to see beyond what people see right in front of them right now. See through all the fluff of life. Focus on you and your kingdom. Help us, God, that we might be able to do that. God, I pray that you'd help us this week as we go to work and we visit with families and as we do our regular life, that we'd be able to show people a side of you that they've never seen before. God, help us as we invite people to church. Help us as we visit with our families. Help us, God, as we go to work. And I pray, God, more than anything, that you would guide us through our life. Because what we believe is truly foundational. And may we believe you and your word. May it be a guide for our lives. I pray, God, that you be with every family here and every marriage and help us, God, to live a life that's honoring and pleasing to you. God, we love you. And we thank you for our freedom we have. In the powerful name of Jesus we pray. Amen. Amen. Would you give God some praise this morning? God, I love you very much.